Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. Now, for the benefit of those of you who are not watching this channel for the first time or never heard of this channel, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense because here on this platform we discuss everyday issues where we're trying to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Also, the subscriber mode has been enabled in the first 5 minutes. Meaning, if you're not a subscriber and if you wish to enter a comment in the chat, you will need to subscribe to the channel. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a supporter from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices and those who watch from the clouds, even the haters. So what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so already, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on the playback. So as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, discussion tonight would be surviving the senior years. Actually, this is a part one of a two-part series. Part two will be on tomorrow night at my other channel, which is Latina Diaspora. The reason why, or the genesis behind it, is the reality that all of us who work eventually will retire. So there are people who approach the senior years with anticipation. Others approach with fear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at the challenges we face and how we can properly prepare for the senior years. And then tomorrow night, I'll be talking about the benefits of the senior years. But before we get into the main topic, we're going to have another episode of In My Words. Today was the last day of early voting here in New York City. Right now, we're in the process of electing mayor, the comptroller, and the public advocate, as long as other positions in the city council, and also some propositions. Okay. The actual election day is Tuesday. Now, one thing people tend to do is they tend not to focus on the local elections, but instead tend to think about the presidential elections. One thing we all have to bear in mind that when it comes to local elections, we are in a better position to shape, what's going to be, who's going to be our local politicians, local officials, and things of that nature. So I would encourage you, make sure you exercise your right to vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I will recommend that before you vote, make sure that you do research, due diligence regarding what each candidate is campaigning for, and then you examine what are those values that you have, and you vote accordingly. The next thing I want to talk about, of course, now being that we're in the month of November, that means we're going to be thinking about the holiday season, which begins on Thanksgiving, and it goes through the month of December, going into the new year, one thing we always have to bear in mind, for many of us, the holiday season is a happy time. First of all, we're gathering with families and loved ones. We're going to be able to break bread, so to speak, eat some good food, um, have some refreshments. It's also a time of bonding. And then for mostly for the men, there is opportunity to watch football on Thanksgiving Day. Well, it is a happy time for many of us. For some people, it is not. Okay. And the reason why I say that there are people who are going through their first holiday season without the person's physical presence of a loved one through death. Whether it be a parent, whether it be a child, whether it be your spouse, whether it be a close family member or a close friend. Okay. Going through the holiday season without the physical presence of a loved one is always difficult because that person is not there uh, to share their presence and to share, their words of wisdom and things of that nature. Also, there are people who are struggling with illnesses. There's also people who have lost their livelihood for whatever reason. And then there are those who relationships with their significant others have ended. Okay. It is also a sad part is that um, the cases of depression, right, of those who are struggling, um, whether it be because of the depression, whether it be because they're dealing with the death of a loved one, whether it being a death this morning, the death of a relationship. Okay, and this is something that we all have to bear in mind. And if we do know people who are struggling for whatever reason, let's be patient with them. Let's reach out to them. Also, give them a kind word. Invite them um, to spend some time, particularly during the holidays. And because we have to understand that the elderly, this could be a difficult time, particularly if they are advanced age and they don't have anyone that visit them for whatever reason. So if you really want to do a good deed, okay, um, check in on your loved ones and make sure that they're okay. And don't judge them. Just love them. Just be patient with them. If they need just be mindful and be sensitive. Okay, and you'd be surprised what a kind word or a visit or bringing in a meal can do to brighten a person's life. And which brings me to the final thing that I want to discuss. When it comes to expectations during the holidays, sometimes it could be unrealistic as far as like what type, gifts to hope for or things of that nature, or make whatever plans, and those plans don't always materialize. Try to be realistic, and particularly for those who have gone through the loss of a loved one. Um, Well, it's easier to isolate yourself. Do try to reach out to a loved one. And if you're having difficulty, there's always the possibility that you can seek a therapist or a mental health expert to help deal with those feelings. There is no shame to admit that you need help. It's only a shame is that you don't act on it. I know that for some people it's easier said than done, particularly if you are part of my generation who was taught not to seek mental health services or things of that nature. So just be patient with yourself. And with that being said, we're going to get into the main topic. Now, before I continue, let me just state for the record that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone wishes to hit that link and opine regarding the topic at hand, they may do so. However, if I have never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one attempts to um, flash any pornographic images, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down their stream. Now, once I determine that you're not going to do that, then I'll let you on the panel. And then after that, it's up to you whether you wish to cam up or not. So, as far as the topic is hand, okay. Now, when I'm referring to the senior years, I'm referring to basically anyone that's 60 years old or older. Usually around that time, that's when people, if they have not retired, but they think about retiring. Okay. And for many people, they're looking on retirement as a happy occasion because what that means is that their working career is over and that they're approaching the sunset of their year of their lives and that they'll have a lot of free time to do the things that they would like to do. Now, in all fairness, there are certain people that fear the seniors. Okay. Because when you think about it, you've been working, say, 30, possibly 40 years out of your life, you know, doing the same thing, going to work every day, deal with public transportation, and then dealing with your coworkers and things of that nature. Now, there are people who are hesitant about retirement because they don't know what they're going to do with themselves after they retire. And one of the things is fear of the unknown. So, and of course, in my case, I'm definitely a senior citizen. I'm 63 years old, and as I stated, I plan to retire in 2 years. Okay. Now, how I'm approaching this? First of all, I'm developing a plan to be active. Okay. But before get into that, let's just take a look at some of the challenges that you might face during the senior years. First of all, um, it is a time of adjustment. So 30 or 40 years of your life, you've gotten used to getting up early in the morning, or maybe um, getting up at a certain time of the day, and then you get ready to go to work, and then you spend whatever time commuting from point A to point B, and then you have a routine when you do your duty for 7 or 8 hours a day, and then you come home. And you never thought about retiring because you're so used to doing this every single day. Now the reality, I have known people who work in the 70s and 80s because they fear change, they fear adapting, they fear having not knowing what to do um, once they are retired. And also, there are other challenges. Sometimes they are not only are they working, but they may be a caregiver for a family member, usually an adult. Okay, and it's usually their parents. Okay, um, in the case of my parents, um, both of my parents lived to be in their 80s, and get as they got older, slowly but surely they begin to decline in their health. Uh, Eyesight started losing. Their cognitive skills begin to decline. Their attention span gets limited. They become forgetful. They may have physical ailments as far as not able to walk without the aid of some sort of device. They may have other health concerns, maybe diabetes and high blood pressure and things of that nature. And sometimes they may have to take a huge amount of medication. This is some of the challenges that we all face, many of us face, that we are caregivers for our parents. Sometimes we can be caregivers for our spouses. Okay. And sometimes it can be a burden. And when you are busy caring for others, um, sometimes you can forget to care for yourself, and that could be an issue. Um, you're so busy caring for others that you don't know how to care for yourself sometimes, and that could be a humbling experience, particularly when you realize that you need help. Another thing to deal with as we get older, we develop multiple health concerns. Maybe you lose a step. Maybe your hearing's getting a little bit bad. Maybe your eyesight's getting poor. Maybe you're not eating a healthy diet. Maybe you develop some bad health habits. Okay, whether it be smoking, drinking, or things of that nature. And you're so busy focusing, taking care of other people, you neglect yourself. I have known I have known people that had retired and in less than 2 years they passed away. And a good reason is that they had serious health issues of which they did not address for reasons un, only known to them, or maybe they did not know. I have no idea. Which is why I've been trying to be focusing, proactive when it comes to my health. Make sure that I watch my diet. Make sure I try to get into exercise. Make sure I eat healthy. Make sure I get a good night's sleep. Um, also dealing with one concerns about my mental well-being and my emotional well-being. So the challenge is that after working for more than half of your life, you find yourself in a situation that you have a lot of free time, but you don't know what to do. And I think part of the reason why people are so reluctant to retire, yeah, I mean the one, yeah, they may miss getting a paycheck, but the thing is, they don't realize. Good evening, Have a Time Funk. Thank you very much for stopping by. And I just want to let everybody know that she has her own YouTube channel, so I'm going to ask that you show some love and support and check out her content. So, and just to repeat, so tonight it's part one of a series called "Surviving the Senior Years," and that's something we all have to deal with from time to time. Surviving the senior years. Now, there's some things that you can do um, to approach the senior years with a different mindset. One thing is to think about what you got to do once you're retired. Okay, that's something that I've been doing for some time. Okay, so I have some activities that I plan to engage in uh, once I've retired. Okay. First of all, I plan to be continue to be active with my union. Okay. Um, as far as all sorts of activities, whether it be committees, whether it be functions and things of that nature. So I plan to be continue being active. Also, my main union, which is DC District Council 37, has a retirement um, organization for retirees. So I plan to be active among my fellow retirees. Also, in my area where I live, there are two senior citizen centers where I could be active. Okay, where I'll be with other senior citizens, and I will be able to have some, you know, participate in other activities, things of that nature. Another thing that I'm thinking about doing is volunteering my time um, at a food pantry, helping prepare meals for needy people. Okay. Now you're probably wondering why would I do stuff like that? It's because it is my personal experience that those of you who lead active retirements, first of all, you're healthy, you remain healthier, both physically and mentally. Also, there is a positive side, which is doing the things that you like to do. Okay. And of course, another thing that I plan to do once I'm retired is travel. Okay. And I definitely have some places that I want to travel. For example, I plan to travel, excuse me, I plan to travel um, to Europe, particularly Spain and the UK. Okay. And of course, it will be a different experience to visit another country. I mean, I visited, quite a few countries in my time, I visit, of course, Canada, Mexico, Panama, um, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, and of course, Puerto Rico. So I definitely plan to travel. I plan to take at least one, two, maybe three trips a year. And of course, there's always a cruise, which I have never had the opportunity to do. Okay. And also, I'm on the other challenges that it comes with the senior years. That as you get older, more and more of your family pass. They will move on. They will um, they will pass away. They will unfortunately leave Earth and go to their final reward. As you get older, more and more of your family passes away. And also another issue is for those who are married, perhaps your spouse might pass away. So another issue is, of course, is loans, particularly for those individuals that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there's a situation where they may find themselves to be living alone. Another set of challenges that the surviving seniors is as you get older, you develop more health issues. Your eyesight may go. Um, you may have problems getting around with mobility issues, or you may have other health concerns, perhaps strokes and things of that nature. And sometimes you get to the point where uh, your health may decline to the extent that you need someone to look after you. So, of course, these are challenges that we all face. Now, one of the things, one of the things I am thinking about, um, maybe have someone come in part time to help clean or prepare meals and things of that nature on a part time basis. Um, because once you advance the age, um, there are more limitations, and sometimes that could be an issue. Okay, um, I saw that my mother, as she got older, you know, she felt frustrations due to the fact that there was less things that she's able to do um, due to her declining health, and that's always a scary part. So what I plan to do, think about doing is when it gets to that point, when I start to have experience limitations, of course, what I'm able to do is perhaps have someone come and maybe um, a couple of days a week, help keep the apartment clean, um, maybe do my laundry, maybe prepare some meals. Okay, things of that nature. Um, one thing for sure is that um, I think I'm going to be okay. I will have my pension, I will have my social security, and I will have my 401k. Okay. So, I'll be able, as long as I live within my means. And of course, another issue is, of course, as you get older, um, the amount of medication that you may need will increase. Plus, there's other issues, particularly when it comes to issues regarding Medicare, when medical bills start to rise and things of that nature. So the key to try to keep your medical bills from going through the roof is making sure that you take care of your health. Okay, which is for your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. So now, when I mean taking care of your physical health, first of all, making sure that you get get a good night's sleep, making sure that you eat healthy. Okay, make sure you eat from um, you know in your diet of fruits, vegetables, and try to stay away from fried foods, and definitely try to stay away from McDonald's and fast food places because let's keep it real. Yeah, I mean, McDonald's may be edible, but it may not be healthy for you, particularly if you are an elderly person like myself. Now, as far as maintaining your mental health, try to avoid any unnecessary stress and trauma to the best you can. Okay, because what it does affects your health when you're dealing with a lot of stress. I mean, stress is something we're all going to deal with. It's how we deal with it. Um, that's how that's how we're going to maintain ourselves. If we learn how to maintain our stress, if we learn to avoid certain stressful situations, if we learn to be in peace with ourselves, okay, things of that nature. And of course, and of course, sometimes when you get older, what happens is there are people who become sweeter. There are also people that become crankier and ornery, and there's sometimes there are people that become impossible, like Karens or things of that nature. And one thing we all have to bear in mind, and we all have to accept, is that we need to accept our physical limitations. And that could be a problem right there. Okay. Because sometimes we struggle with the fact that there's certain things that we're not able to do. Okay. And that could be that could be a difficult situation to deal with. But one thing to bear in mind is that try to maintain a healthy perspective. One thing I do believe is the power of confession. And let me explain to you what do I mean by that. That means whatever you say will become a reality. If you confess problems you're gonna have. If you confess prosperity, you're gonna have prosperity. If you confess anger, well, guess what? You're gonna be angry. I mean, it's all dealing with with your attitude and how to deal with it. Okay. And of course, they're going to say to you, well, Jose, you don't know what it is to deal with. I'm lonely. No one comes to visit me, things of that nature. Let me tell you something. No, most people do not like loneliness. They want to be with other people. But one thing we all have to bear in mind that um, we cannot control what other people say or do. We control what's going to be our response. That's something that I've learned um, in my YouTube journey. Okay. If people don't want to come to your home and visit you, well, then what you can do is you can go out and visit others. Also, you can engage in activities within your neighborhood. And believe me, um, you'll be surprised once you get into the habit of engaging with other people with all sorts of activities. Next thing you know, you're occupying yourself with a good chunk of your day. And what that does, it helps you to deal with the loneliness. Okay. Now, in truth, loneliness can be a serious issue, particularly if you get into your 70s and 80s. Okay. Because by that stage in your life, um, for the most part, your parents have passed on. Maybe your siblings have passed on. Maybe your loved one has passed on. And sometimes the children don't always visit, or they don't always call. Okay. You can complain about it, you can gripe about it, but it's really not going to change the situation. Okay, because the reality is that they have to be willing to come visit you. And this is something that I have a discussion um, with my older sister when mentioned that my younger siblings don't always call or check in or whatever. And I said, you know what? That has to come out of them. Okay. If they're not inclined to call or text or visit, complaining about them not doing that, it's not going to help your situation. In fact, it may make it worse. So you have to deal with the reality that you're facing with, and of course, one excuse me, and of course, one of the reality is as you get older, um, you're going to encounter more health issues. You're going to encounter challenges. So you have to be able to adapt. Okay. And what do I mean by that? You take a look at your current situation and you see what you're able to do. Okay. Now, in all fairness, I have lost a step or two. Okay, because I'm not as young. First of all, I'm not as young as I used to be. Second, I have had knee replacement surgery, so that kind of slowed me down a little bit. But you learn to adjust to your environment. And when you are able to do that, you're not dealing with it with as much stress, okay? Because you learn to adjust. And this is where um, some of the people they have problems because they're having difficulties adjusting. Okay. Good evening, April Shows. Thank you very much for stopping by. So, the topic for tonight is surviving the senior years. Okay. And of course, as I follow our baby, okay, people of my generation, as we get older, we have multiple challenges regarding our health, challenges regarding our mental well-being, um, also learning to adjust and accept the limitations that we all deal with. Also accepting the fact that there's some things we cannot do anymore, but there are other things we can do. Okay. And of course, the senior years can open the doors to new activities. But you know what, Abel, the key is to be proactive when it comes to your health issues. Yeah. Okay. That's the key. And when I mean to be proactive, first of all, make sure that you keep your medical appointments, regular checkups, check up your eyes, check up your vision, check up your teeth, check up your limbs, and things of that nature. Also, it means trying to maintain a healthy diet. It also means making sure that you get your sleep, making sure that you avoid any unnecessary stress. Exactly, exactly. And also, this could be an opportunity to learn new things. Now, watched a video earlier today regarding believers who are advancing of age. Okay. And what we are able to do. First of all, what we can do as believers, we can spend more time in prayer. We can spend more time reading the Bible. We can spend more time in fellowship with other believers. We can also share our wisdom with the younger generation. And of course, those of us who are in um, the senior years, we've been through some um, difficult situations. We have gone through some headaches. We've gone through some heartaches. We also experienced losing loved ones. And of course, we have life experiences where we can share with the younger generation. Okay. And hopefully, they'll be willing to listen to us so they can avoid some of the mistakes that we in our generation have made. And so just because we're older, we're still useful. Okay. we may not be able to run what we used to do as fast as we used to do. Maybe it may take us a little bit longer to learn something, but we have uh, um, life experiences and wisdom that we can share with the younger generation. I mean, right now as we speak, I'm currently mentoring uh, two young um, union reps who serving as union reps for the first time. Okay, they're both young, they're both eager. I'm mentoring them because eventually I will retire. And what I plan to do my final years is simply sit in the background and let the young people do the work. Okay, but just because we're older, grayer, we have more wrinkles, we're still useful, and we can still be productive um, in many ways. Okay. Now, of course, some of us will think, that that it's time as we in our senior years, it is our time to just simply sit back and just sit in a rocking chair. But there's a lot. We still have quite a bit of living to take care of, and we have some new experiences that we can learn. And believe me, I'm going to be sharing that on tomorrow's stream, which will be part two. So, some of the, I mean, we will have the time to learn new things. We will have the time to devote to the things that we like to do. We will have time to learn new things. We will have time to travel. We will have time to deal with hobbies and things of that nature. So I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to the time where I am when I have retired. Okay. Now I know some people fear retirement mainly because they don't know what to do. Okay, because because for many of them, their job has been their life. Okay, and sometimes if they're not careful, the job can be their idol because they're focusing so much on the job and not on anything else. I mean, as a retired person, there is a whole world of opportunities that we can embrace. Okay, we can learn languages, we can learn skills. Okay, we can also network with other people like ourselves. We can also share our wisdom with the younger generation. So just because we may be old, just because we may be wrinkled, just because some of us is losing our hair, or maybe our vision is getting bad, or our hearing is getting bad, or we're walking with the aid of a cane or a walker, doesn't mean that we're not useful. We are. Okay. And when you think about it, there's some people that um, did wonderful things in their advanced age. I think Grandma Moses was in her 80s when she started to paint. And also looking in the Bible, Moses was 80 years old when God called him to be a prophet to lead the children of Israel to freedom. Um, Sarah was advanced age and she was sterile, but she gave birth to Isaac. And Moses, when he finally passed away, he was 120 years old and his vision was still good. Okay. So there is a lot that us that our generation can do. The problem is people tend to second guess what we're able to do and not able to do, and people assume that that it's a time for us to just retire and just be in the background. But there's a lot we can do. Okay. But we just have to have the proper mindset. And we also have to develop certain strategies and things of that nature. So if you're approaching the senior years and you're approaching the age when you're able to retire, the first thing you should start to think to do is what you're going to do when it's time to retire before you retire. Okay, you can always travel. You can always learn hobbies. You can always learn skills. There's like organizations when you can join. Um, Sometimes the organization where the elderly can spend time with young people, passing their with their wisdom or their experiences. Okay, and there may be young people that will truly value the experiences and the wisdom that we have gained. Okay. Plus, we've been through quite a bit. Okay. Particularly in my case, I have gone through the funerals of both my parents, four of my siblings, and two of my nephews. Okay. And also, I consider myself very blessed and very fortunate because I had one sibling that passed away at 36. I had a second sibling that passed away at 49. I had a third sibling that passed away at 56. And a fourth sibling that passed away at 68. I'm currently 63. And by God's grace and mercy, I plan to live um, for a long time, unless the Lord has other plans for me. So I plan to be around for quite a while. I plan to be around to be um, the best version of myself. Also, I plan to learn have some new experiences, make some new friends, um, and just learn to adapt, and that is the key of dealing with the senior years. Now, on tomorrow, on part two, I'm going to be talking about the advantages of the seniors because yes, yeah, there's issue with declining health. Yes, there might be issue with loneliness, but there's certain things that we are able to do. There's certain activities that we can enjoy. There's certain things. Okay, so we can um, be productive, healthy, and have happy lives during our golden years. So to anybody that's around my age, um, don't approach the senior years with fear, but approach it with this mindset, which is number you're going to have a lot of free time. So you really need to think about how you're going to use that free time. Okay. Which means engaging yourself in activities, maybe traveling, maybe learning some new skills, maybe developing new hobbies, and of course, make sure that you maintain a healthy lifestyle as much as human possible, not just with your physical well being, your mental well being, your emotional well being, and your spiritual well being. Now, I have been talking for almost an hour, so if anyone wishes to hit the link briefly before I wrap this up, the link is in the, is in the chat. Or if you wish to opine, you can do so. Otherwise, I'll start to wrap this up because I do need to get my sleep. Okay, because I am working tomorrow. So I would encourage all of you, to start thinking about how to plan your retirement. And to the young people, you're never too old, you're never too young to think about what you're going to do when you retire. Okay. Now, I know sometimes some of the young people have a hard time thinking 20, 30 years down the road, but before you know it, you'll be experiencing the golden years. So it's best to start thinking about what you're going to do when you retire. And of course, make sure that you maintain healthy lifestyles when it comes to your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health. Meaning making sure that you take proper care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, who else will? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop to wrap this up. Again, this is part one. Part two will be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on my other channel. So I would encourage you, particularly if you are approaching the senior years, to play, to watch this in the playback, and of course, any wish to share this, you may do so. And I do hope that you found this two-part series to be something that's educational, something that that's going to help you as you get older with the senior years. So, if no one else wishes to join the panel, then I'll start to wrap this up. Okay. And believe it or not, we all will get old. We all will deal with the senior years. So, with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Um, you're more than welcome to share this. And then, of course, the playback end, do your own thing. Okay. You're more than welcome to enter whatever comments. Just keep the comments respectable. Okay. Because if not, they're going to get deleted. And of course, I'm going to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by the stupidity and massive insanity. And of course, whatever we say or do to the glory of God. And with that being said, thank you very much for your patience and your understanding. And hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. With that being said, this has been another episode of On Common Sense with Hossein Brown saying good night and be blessed and peace.